I bring you my preschool learning. Not like little ones, but my learning preschool. That's where I go with that. I did a lot of learning this week, and from Prody to webinars to podcast listening, and it was fantastic how we, as a community, can grow together. So, without further ado, here's episode 182 of Fresh Air at 5.
I'm Angela Kelly Robeck, host of the Empowered Principal Podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to Fresh Air at 5, the podcast. I'm your host, Brian Carpenter, coming to you every week from Abbotsford, which is about 45 minutes east of Vancouver, British Columbia, on the west coast of Canada. Fresh Air at 5 is my regular attempt to get some fresh air by walking about my neighborhood, which is located on the traditional and unceded territory of the Stolo people, the Simath First Nation and Mathwe First Nation. I consume podcast content while I walk, then reflect on this content in an unedited video, which I post on my X, formerly known as Twitter, channel every day. This podcast is the collection of the audio taken from those daily selfie videos over the course of a week, Monday to Friday. So let's jump into my listening and learning this past week. Hey, PLN, August 26, 2024. Out for Fresh Air at 5 this morning, and it's just past 5 a.m. So I got up early, and I'm out and at it and excited about my day. Today's a Pro-D day, and I'm heading into a workshop session with Tom Schimmer in our Abbotsford School District on assessment and about a way of thinking about that in a proficiency scale. I have some ideas what Tom's going to talk about, but I'm really looking forward to hearing Tom formally in his workshop today and learning alongside other Abbotsford School teachers about assessment. All right, this morning I listened to episode 49 of the Digital Learning Podcast with Matt Miller and Holly Clark, as Matt Miller and Holly Clark bring us AI First Steps for Teachers for teachers, and things you got to consider out of the gates as you start using artificial intelligence personally as a teacher, and then in your classroom with your students. And you need to consider, what can the AI do? What can these large language models like ChatGPT, Gemini, Anthropic, etc., what can they do? What do they do well? And how can they serve you as a teacher? So spending time there is so important. Second thing is to, understand how to prompt engineer better, and doing prompt engineering, building prompts to get more results out that you are after so that you can get those things. The ERA model, ERA, expectations, roles, and actions that you want the AI to perform. Third thing has to do with expectations. Fourth is image generating. We've got deeper learning. How can AI help with deeper learning? What are the concerns that we have about artificial intelligence, bias, about taking away the cognitive load on students and replacing it with AI doing it for them? Not such a great idea, I don't think. So take a listen to this episode. Lots in there. I appreciate it, Holly and Matt. Have a fabulous day. I got more learning to do. Talk to you soon. Bye. The last thing for August 26, 2024, as I'm wrapping up my morning walk now, it's getting close to about 5:30 a.m. The rain has started a little bit, so it's a little bit damp, but not too bad. I listened to episode 281 of Teachers on Fire podcast with Tim Cavey. And hey, Tim, how are you doing today? Hope you're doing well back to work, back to school in Vancouver. Yes, with this episode, he talks with Morgan Michael, who is the author of A Blueprint for Belonging, a way of affecting our culture and our school community to have people belong. And belonging is so important. I think about, what do I do? What are my communities? My fly fishing community, my podcasting community, my education community, my professional development community, and how important those are to keep me motivated to keep on going. My recreation community, the 8 of us parents that hang out together because we're part of our chosen family crew. So very important. Morgan, I appreciate your thoughts. Interesting to hear your take on being an immigrant to Canada and the struggle to fit in. I just watched a really curious show on Netflix about a con artist, and it's called Inventing Anna, and how she wanted to fit in so badly. No spoilers, go watch. It's kind of rough, but a curious perspective on, high society in New York and all that stuff. As we go through today, where do we belong? How do we fit in? Take a listen to what Morgan and Tim have to say on this podcast. Without further ado, that's all I got for today. Thanks so much for listening, and subscribe to Fresh Air at 5 and be part of what I'm doing. Appreciate it. Bye. PLN August 27, 2024. Today for Fresh Air at 5, I didn't walk this morning, but I did listen to the Digital Learning Podcast with Holly Clark and Matt Miller as they bring us episode 47, Moving Beyond ChatGPT. Over the past 2 years we're almost 22 months since GPT launched for public consumption and ChatGPT, and we have become it almost has become, an acronym or a substitute word for artificial intelligence. When we talk about AI, we talk about ChatGPT. So moving beyond ChatGPT as the open AI tool that was created by OpenAI for artificial intelligence, the large language model, we now have things like Gemini and Anthropic and Microsoft Copilot and other tools that have large language models that allow us to do AI things, and we need to get move along from ChatGPT as the only or the benchmark for what these things can do. Holly and Matt talk about taking and using the same prompt in various large language models like Gemini, Anthropic, Copilot, ChatGPT, and seeing what kind of results we get out. I like the example of Abraham Lincoln, Holly, that you talked about the reliability of the information. There's historical things that we know. The challenge, though, is how do we know? I guess we could pick some big things and see what they have to say about telling us the facts and details about historical events that we do know, seeing what it comes up with. All right. Thanks so much. So good to hear, and I'm going to keep on learning. I got one more episode 48 to listen to of the Digital Learning Podcast. I think I'll get that done as I head home this evening in my truck. All right, thanks, bye. PL on August 28, 2024, Fresh Air at 5 this morning. Just before 5 a.m., out for my walk and enjoying the briskness. We are 8.5 degrees Celsius this morning. It is cooling off. The weather this week, today's supposed to be about 20 degrees Celsius. It's supposed to warm up by the end of the week, which is good. Thankful for that because it's still summertime, but we are getting into the coolness of the fall. I love the coolness of the fall as that brings on new opportunities like to start a school, fishing, fall fishing, salmon fishing, doing other activities than the normal summer activities. Regular routine, that's actually an important part. So getting up in the morning and getting out for Fresh Air at 5 is part of my regular routine. And in the summer, sometimes that just goes out the window, as you can tell listening recently. All right, this morning I listened to episode 26 of the Elemental Educator podcast as Tyler Como talks with my friend Tim Cavey from British Columbia here about growth mindset and sustainability as a teacher. How to get those things done, how to stay on the edge, and how to maintain yourself so that you can stay on the edge and stay excited about what you do in your everyday, about your professional growth, about your family, about making a difference in the world. How do we connect with each other digitally? How do we connect each other analogically? And what do we do to keep ourselves going? A fantastic conversation and a story that I've heard from Tim, but every time I hear it, I hear a different thing. So it's for me, the new thing today is about how he, uses Canva for education in his classroom to collaboratively make videos. Not a Canva guy myself, I'm an Adobe Express guy, but there's a capacity to do collaboration on projects, and I think that is so important in an online space, not just as an online teacher, but in your face-to-face classroom to have kids collaborate on things. All right, Tyler and Tim, thanks so much. Have a fabulous. Okay, bye. One more thing for August 28, 2024. I listened to the Digital Learning Podcast with Holly Clark and Matt Miller as they bring us an episode in episode 48 called AI Apps, our favorite AI apps. And this is Matt and Holly's list of top 6 that they have of their favorite AI integrated apps. And, we look at apps that are coming out since the since the release of ChatGPT in November 2022, and other apps that have been around that are now integrating AI into them, and things that we can do within these apps that have been tried and tested. Matt brings us Brisk, he brings us Mirror Talk, and another one I can't remember off the top. Ideogram for image generations. And I just dropped my headphone. So I got to find my headphone while I'm talking to you here. There it is. Found it. Okay, so yes, he brings us those, which sound so great. I got to check out Mirror Talk. A friend of mine, Sarah Candela, she works for Swivel, and Brian Lamb, they work together on developing this tool for student reflection in Mirror. And I ran into Sarah at Spring Q, had lunch with her, and talked about the capacity of this tool. Now that it's an app, we don't need to have the physical mirror tool, but we can do that ourselves within our browsers. All right, Holly, she brings us Adobe Express Suno for music creation, as well as Snorkel, which is a math AI tool. Taking a look at these tools and different ways that we can engage our students. I'm a big Adobe Express guy, love it so much. Animate from audio, text to image, so fantastic. We have an entry point for our students within a safe space. Adobe Firefly is the backbone of text to image in Adobe Express. All right, that's all I got. Take a listen for yourself so you can hang on and follow along with what's going on in the AI world. One more thing for August 28, 2024, the Easy Ed Tech podcast with Monica Burns has Monica bringing us an episode called 8 Creative Ways to Use Podcasts with Students. And podcasting, as we are sitting here listening right now, even if you're listening on the daily, is a means of getting an audio message out to the world through the form of narrative, through interview, through monologue, etc., things like that, and a way of communicating information. It's another form of writing with air quotes around it, because it's a way of communicating that is, at our fingertips. We all have microphones in our devices, if we've got devices, and there's a way of not including the video part, but just the audio. Monica talks about narrative and sharing narratives with students as a way to get them thinking about their own writing. Talks about having a podcast club for students that they can bring their favorite listening and learning that they have done. It's a way of getting, current events going on in your classroom, because there are news outlets that put on a podcast of current events, that things happen in the morning. And, lastly, and this is not all 8, Monica talks about students creating podcasts, and there's ways of doing that. She's talked about that on her podcast in the previous, and shares Adobe Podcast, which is their podcast creator. Some of my students last year used it for their own podcast that we created in my media design class. Thanks, Monica. Appreciate your inspiration. Keep on going. Okay, bye. Last thing for August 28, 2024, I wanted to bring you a couple of learning opportunities that I've participated in this week. It's only Wednesday. You're like, Carpenter, you've been listening to podcasts. Yeah, I've been doing that, but I've been doing more as well. On this week in our school district, our curriculum department is offering preschool Pro-D and opportunities for learning before we get back to school. And on Monday, I attended the assessment session with Tom Schimmer, my friend from Vancouver, and he's a podcaster of the Tom Schimmer podcast, and also the Yes Unleashed podcast with Nat Verbasso, and they share with us entrepreneurial mindsets and how to launch a business. But Tom brought us assessment. He's a consultant with a speaker with Solution Tree, and shared his learning that he's done about assessment, and particularly the new assessments that we need to do in British Columbia with our proficiency scale, and how to look at that. So Tom, I want to say thank you here on the air for the work that you've done and sharing with us. And as you saw on Monday, light bulbs were coming on in this guy's head, and I feel more comfortable moving forward into the school year with the proficiency scale and my students. All right. Yesterday, I listened to a webinar with Cami Cannikins, my friend out of Alberta, and she is an ambassador for TeachAid, which is an artificial intelligence teacher assistant that can do some awesome things. We have had a demonstration by Nadeem, the founder of the company, and Jason, who is a supporter and cheerleader, and is working with Nadeem to get TeachAid going here in Canada and around the world, as far as they take learning standards from government documents and allows for artificial intelligence unit and lesson creation, all the way from presentations to activities to assessments and rubrics. All right, that's my week so far. It's only Wednesday morning. Got more to do. I'm going to do some more learning later today. Thanks so much. Have a fabulous day. Okay, bye. PLN, it's August 29, 2024. 29. We've got 2 days left of August. Then it's September, then it's actually back to work. This week, I've done a lot of learning and put a lot of effort into my own professional development. Haven't done any work at this point, but that will be coming probably tomorrow, as I got to step in and get my virtual classroom set up and do some physical classroom stuff as well, because it's coming. Tuesday's coming when we are back to school. We have our online students, and a week later, our face-to-facers come in for the Fusion program 2 days a week. All right, this morning, I listened to episode 171 of this EdTech Throwdown with Eric Geis and Nick Johnson. Gentlemen, thank you so much for the work you continue to do by bringing us episodes like this, and also themed episodes where you talk about a specific idea and specific tools that can be used there. Today, you talk about 6 tools to blast off your school year. Things to consider. We've got Diffit. We've got Flat Icon. We have Google Sheets table generator tool within that. We also have Nick talking about his recent learning with ChatGPT and using it to solve a problem in an Excel spreadsheet for his wife. And, that's a real life thing. We've got these problems. We've got these tools that are able to curate content and bring it to us. And we need to not be afraid to use it. So good on you, Nick, for that. There is also a couple more by Eric that he brought us. He brought us Canvastera, which is a poster generator, like Glogster kind of, sort of, but kind of like Canva as well. So that's something to check out. And finally, there's one more Eric talked about, I can't remember. Hey, go listen to episode 171 to catch that for yourself. All right, gotta go. Talk to you soon. Have a fabulous day, and we will talk to you one more time this week, tomorrow. Peace. Bye. Hey, happy Friday, PLN. It's August 29th. Actually, it's August 30th. August 30th. Yes, I forgot. Yesterday was the 29th. This morning, I'm out a bit later and enjoying the sunshine as I walk for fresh air at 5 and learn something. I learned on episode 27 of The Elemental Educator about Dr. Poppy Gibson and how she has curiosity and growth as core values that are so important to her, that drive a lot of what she does in her life. And it was great to hear Tyler and Poppy talk about their respective journeys, because Poppy flipped the table on Tyler and asked him some pointed questions. And then they got back to the interview about Poppy and where she's at with the work that she's doing, as she has been an elementary school educator for a number of years, 11 years, and then she's moved to higher ed and works with adult learners and talks about, growth mindset and about being yourself and listening and making a difference in people's lives. Fantastic, Tyler. Appreciate your podcast. I love the 4 elements and how you tie those two parts of our being that are, affect us in different ways. Yes. Appreciate it. I haven't done my coursework with you. I downloaded the PDFs, but haven't got to it. So that's on my list of things to do this fall. All right, talk to you. Bye.
I appreciate you giving me a listen as I've created this podcast experience for you. It's like a unique Blinkist or Coles Notes version of the content I take in, like a highlight reel, so that you can hopefully find some other interesting podcasts you may not have considered before. I've recorded the specific episode podcast titles and episode numbers in the show notes, which are only a click or swipe away for your learning convenience. I've also started to put together a Spotify playlist of each of the episodes so that you can also take a listen to those specifically, and the link to that playlist is in the show notes. Please subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. And if you enjoy this podcast and its format, share it with someone else. You can also follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Brian Carr, BRYONCAR, or at Fresh Air at 5. Tweet about your experience or give it a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Fresh Air at 5 can be found on the Educational Podcast Network. Podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. I hope you have a fantastic day. Get some fresh air before the day is out and take care of yourself, because you are worth it.